Hey guys, it's Becky with Design Bundles, and I am here today to talk to you about creating your own watercolor resist. Now, this is not a new craft. You are actually able to buy watercolor resist projects, but we are going to teach you how to create your own, and even more importantly, this is really easy and really cheap. So let's go ahead and jump over. We are doing this with our Silhouette Cameo today, but the concepts are the same if you're using any other type of cutting machine. So let's get started.
Okay, so when setting up your file, you need to remember that the watercolor paper that we're going to use today, and most that you will find in the stores, is going to be either letter size or what we're using is 9 by 12. So I'm going to draw a square, and I do this for a lot of my projects, so this isn't something new that you guys will see from me, but I'm going to make it 9 inches wide by 12 inches high. Now I'm going to move that over into my cutting area. And all I want to do is shrink down my file so that it will fit in that area. Okay, now if I want to, I can stretch it up a little bit, make it a little bit taller. Not all designs stretch very well because obviously they're meant to be the size and dimension that they are, but it's just an option that you have. So once you decide on how large or small you want it, and I also want to say I'm showing you this in Silhouette Studio, but the concepts are the same for Cricut Design Space. You're just going to draw a square and size it to reflect the size of your material, and then size down your file to fit comfortably inside of it. Once we're done, you can actually use that as your weeding box. So I can size that down a little bit, fit it a little bit closer, and a weeding box just means that it'll be easier for you to weed it out having that on there. Okay, so now I'm going to slide it over into my top left corner. I'm going to click over to my send panel. Now we are cutting on transparent Oracal 651, so I'm going to leave it on vinyl glossy. Want to make sure my action is set to cut, and I am using the ratchet blade, but if you're using an auto blade, that's fine, leave it on auto blade. Now I'm going to run over to my Silhouette Cameo and go ahead and cut this out.
Okay, so let's talk about what we have here. This is our design that we cut in adhesive vinyl. This is our watercolor paper. We have just basic watercolor palette, a little cup of water, and then of course we have weeding tweezers and a piece of transfer tape. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and weed our design. Now I know that I told you that I was cutting this from transparent Oracle, and that was my intention, but we are going to actually use white. Now white works just as well as long as you're using a white surface, which of course we are. This will actually work with any type of permanent adhesive vinyl. The only thing to worry about, and we use that term loosely, but in order to make it look like a resist type watercolor, is you want it to match the color of your background. Okay, once your design is weeded, you can go ahead and use your transfer tape. Now mine comes with a paper backing. And to get a good transfer on it, I'm just going to let the middle droop and touch down first. Smooth it down. Use a little scraper. Burnish it really well. There we go. And now I'm going to freehand put it on the watercolor paper. Now, unfortunately, because adhesive vinyl doesn't always like to stick to a textured surface such as this watercolor paper, you may have to help it along a little bit, but don't worry, with just a little bit of hand holding, you'll be able to get it to lay flat. Okay, so now it pretty much blends in with the paper behind it. It's time for us to get down to the watercolors. Now, like I said, this is just a cheap watercolor set. There's nothing super special about it. You get a regular bristle brush. And we want to start off by adding some water to our design. Be liberal with the water. Okay, you don't want to skimp with the water. This is going to help us with our blending. Okay, so once you feel like you have a good base down, you can go ahead and add water to your watercolor palette. Now I am going to do a rainbow because I just feel like watercolors and rainbows go really well together. So I'm just going to start with a cursory arrangement of colors. Doesn't have to be anything too perfect right now. Don't be concerned if you have to keep coming back for more water. Now, of course, there are more professional watercolor sets, but I have actually been pretty happy with these cheap little sets, and they certainly get the job done within my skill level. I'm not an artist to the point where I need high color materials like that. So just something to keep in mind. If you really enjoy watercolor, you may want to check in to more quality materials. And all I'm trying to do is butt my colors up against each other. Let's see, this must be blue. And I just want to use all the different colors of the rainbow. Basically, the only colors that I'm not using in my palette are the brown and the black. Okay, so once you have the basics of your colors down, you can come back in and go heavier on the paint if you want to brighten your colors up a little bit. This is also where you can focus on blending your colors. Again, don't be afraid of the water. That's what's going to give it the nice watercolor effect. Always be careful when you're working with yellow because it's very easy for these darker colors to dominate your yellow. So you want to go heavy on the yellow and light on the colors that surround it. Just in regards to blending your colors. It's better to blend the yellow into the surrounding colors than it is to try to blend your surrounding colors into that yellow space, because you could be forfeiting some of your yellow real estate, so to speak. And this is just really fun. I really enjoy, I do this with my daughter a lot. Of course she does, you know, we do lots of rainbows and unicorns and flowers and that sort of thing. So definitely a lot of room for artistic input. I really appreciate that this second layer lets me darken up my colors. Now also watch your edges and just make sure that you get that nice watercolor effect all the way around. And of course, if you need to clean out and get some fresh water, make sure that you don't contaminate your workspace, okay? That's not what we want to do. And then of course you can bring it down a little bit, kind of say smooth out any harsh edges that you have. And for the most part, that is all you need. And there we go. So what we will do, I don't know if you guys can tell, but we do have a little bit of wave going on with the paper. Now I've heard that if you tape down your edges, you won't have that problem. But what I do is I'm going to wait for this to dry. I do go in and just with a damp paper towel, we're going to wipe off our white adhesive vinyl. And then we will actually throw this in the heat press. You can also use a home iron and that will flatten it back out. So let's let this dry and we'll come back and take a look at all that. Okay, so we have let our design fully dry and it actually looks pretty cool, but you'll see how it has some leftover watercolor left on the vinyl. So what we can do is you're just gonna take a damp paper towel, probably a Q-tip would work really well too, and you just want to dip it in a little bit of water and just lightly go over the exposed vinyl. And that will remove it from the vinyl without removing it or messing up the design from your paper. Alrighty, so there we go, guys. Got it all cleaned up and looking good, and I'm really excited and proud of our watercolor resist project. So, what do you think? Didn't these colors turn out very vibrant? I am ecstatic with how this turned out. And just in case you missed it in the video, after the watercolor settled and dried, it dried flat. So doubly excited about that. We didn't have to press it down, but if yours is wrinkled up and it doesn't flatten back out, that's okay. Grab that heat press or iron, give it a little press, and you're good to go. So I really appreciate you guys joining me today. If you have any questions or comments about the project or anything in general, make sure you leave those in the comment section below. And as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we always have fun projects for you right around the corner. Thanks for joining me today. We will see you next time.